Hello everyone, long time no see. I have a bunch of cool updates to share with you guys. First off is I'm married officially. Yes, it is to Chris, who is my love that I made a video with back in like 2019 about BPD and relationships. Yes, we are still together. For those of you that comment, are you guys even together still? We are, and we also have two wonderful children together. I think in my previous videos, I was talking about how we have a daughter together, and since then we also have a now 2-year-old son, as well as our 6-year-old daughter. And we are married, and we are very happy. So that's that. I really wanted to make a video today specifically because today actually marks exactly 10 years since I uploaded my very first video about BPD, sharing my story. And I'll be honest, I did not think anybody was actually going to watch it. So watching it back, it's very cringe to me. A lot of my old videos are cringe due to the lack of editing, the audio, stumbling over my words, which I will probably be doing a lot of again. But back then, there wasn't really anybody who was sharing their experiences with BPD. So I'm very happy that I had gotten so much support. And since then, I have switched to more short form content. If you don't follow me on Instagram and TikTok, I am more active there because, as you know, I don't really post on YouTube as much. And that is simply because I don't have a lot of time. I'm really not good at editing, and I just feel like my videos are not the best quality. However, there is a couple more updates. The first one is, as I mentioned, I think in my previous video talking about DBT, I was in the process of being assessed for autism and ADHD. And since then, I've had not one, but two assessments done. And both times I was formally diagnosed with both autism spectrum disorder level 1 and severe ADHD combined type. So finally, I wish I knew that sooner, but I think a lot of us are late diagnosed or questioning that. So I'd love to make a video about that and my journey and experience with being late diagnosed autistic with ADHD. But today's video, I really wanted to talk about probably the most exciting thing, especially because my channel is about borderline personality disorder. I am officially in remission for BPD. Now, I didn't even know what that was for the longest time. So if you don't know what that is either, don't worry. I feel like a lot of times doctors don't even tell us that remission is possible. Basically, remission within borderline personality disorder is when you no longer meet the criteria, which means that you don't have at least 5 of the 9 symptoms and they don't impact your daily life across multiple environments. Now, super quickly, just going to spit off the 9 symptoms of BPD. It's fear of abandonment, unstable or shifting self-image, unstable relationships with others, impulsive or reckless behaviors, suicidal or self-harm tendencies, impulsive, I already said that one, emotional shifts lasting between a few hours and a few days, inappropriate or intense anger, as well as chronic emptiness and stress-related paranoia or dissociative symptoms. So when I was first diagnosed all the way back in 2013, 2014, I had all 9 out of 9 symptoms and they severely impacted my daily life. Now, when I made my videos about BPD, I almost put on a character. I tried really hard to be positive and upbeat and it's okay because I didn't want to make others feel hopeless. But I'm not going to lie to you. I felt hopeless for a really long time. I thought that I would struggle with BPD forever. And I think a lot of us have that worry. Like, will I ever get better? Am I just going to, like, destroy everything around me? It's kind of sad to think about. But I am here to tell you right now that you do not have to struggle forever. Finding out that I'm in remission, meaning that I don't have all of these symptoms affecting my daily life, has been it's so rewarding. And if I can do it, I promise you that you are able to as well. So for some statistics, about 85% of people with borderline personality disorder will experience remission within 10 years. Now, about 5% of people in BPD remission may relapse. Now, that is when you were previously in remission, and unfortunately you started experiencing those symptoms again. I myself had been improving, and I really took a downward kind of spiral, where my symptoms had gotten worse for a little while before they got better again. I really want to share exactly how I reached remission and all of that. There is many different ways. So my journey will not look the same as yours. Things that I did may not be what you do. Things that work for me may not be what works for you, but that is completely okay. I find one of the most important parts of recovery with BPD is knowing that it is possible, because it's so easy to feel hopeless, especially when we have that black and white thinking, that all or nothing thinking, that's just like, I am bad, I'm always going to be bad, what is the point? And then that unfortunately leads into the self-harm, suicidal aspects. So that is why I always wanted to kind of be like a positive influence to others. I didn't want to show how deeply I was struggling. But literally every single one of the symptoms almost daily affected me. I had unfortunately lost so many relationships, friendships, family strains. Had to drop out of school. I was frequently changing jobs. I wasn't able to work full time, and the part-time jobs that I had, I either quit impulsively or was fired due to not showing up. And I know that's the same for a lot of people with BPD. It's really hard to feel like a functioning human being, and sometimes it's hard to find hope. But the first step, I think, is, I mean, if you're already watching this video, that means that you are in the right direction of learning more about your disorder, finding others out there like you. I always recommend to everybody to find a support group of some sorts. Social media has really changed over the last 10 years. When I started talking about BPD, there wasn't really anyone sharing their experiences. There was mostly just information from a professional standpoint. There wasn't people with the actual disorder sharing their symptoms. And I think being together and having support, being able to vent with other people who understand, is really, really, really important. So I don't know if you use Facebook. There's so many Facebook groups out there to have support with other people who have BPD. There's Discord, there's Instagram, TikTok. I'm also much more active on Instagram, TikTok. I do more so like short form content now. So there's many different resources out there. And I will share down below some great DBT resources. So if you have seen my previous video, I was discussing DBT, which is dialectical behavior therapy. Now that is what we now know as the frontline treatment for BPD. It was made by Marsha Linehan, she herself has BPD, and she created it to support people with BPD. It is originally a form of cognitive behavior therapy, and I found it very, very, very useful. However, I'm going to be straight up. It was not an end-all be-all. It did not just diminish my symptoms. I actually got worse before I got better. Now, a lot of people say that it is super, super helpful, and it is. It's just sometimes it can be difficult to implement. So also, a lot of times people will say, like, this didn't work for me. So I don't want people to give up or think that they're untreatable simply because DBT didn't work for them. It's possible that it wasn't the right setting. It's possible that it wasn't the right therapist teaching. It's possible that you weren't in the right environment or state of mind to be able to really benefit from that therapy. And other times it just may not be the right therapy for you. There is a lot of other types of therapy, including, well, there's CBT, which DBT is based on, but a lot of times people find that CBT is not helpful. So I'm just going to throw that out there. There is also mentalization-based therapy, which I've heard really good things about, as well as EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization. Okay, sorry, don't listen to me, but it is EMDR. I'm blanking on what exactly that stands for. However, if you have previous trauma, it's very helpful for working through that trauma. Now, BPD is not a trauma disorder, meaning that you don't have to experience trauma in order to develop BPD. However, I think about 60 or 70% of cases of BPD come from trauma. There is also sometimes a genetic predisposition, environmental factors, so you don't have to experience trauma to go through BPD, but if you do have a lot of heavy trauma that you'd like to work through, I find that that may be beneficial to work on first before dealing with the BPD symptoms themselves. Now, I think over the years, I've struggled with different symptoms, but for me personally, the biggest symptoms that I've struggled with are the emotional shifts and the inappropriate intense anger, which I feel like can kind of tie into the emotional shifts. Like, I would not just be sad, I would be extremely depressed. I would not just be angry, I would be absolutely full of rage. My happiness was pure euphoria. My nervousness was anxiety, like paranoia inducing anxiety. And basically every emotion was just at a 100 all the time and just continuously flip-flopping. Now, especially back maybe even like 10-15 years ago, doctors did not know as much about BPD. So a lot of times, and I've heard a lot of people's experiences, that they just kind of throw medication at their patients as opposed to, you know, trying to set them up with therapy first. Now, there is no medication specifically made for borderline personality disorder. It is a personality disorder. However, there is medication that could be helpful. Now, not every single person will benefit from medication. There's so many different medications out there, and what works for me personally may not work for you. I personally am on Zoloft, which is an SSRI, but there is also SNRIs, mood stabilizers, antipsychotics, which I have tried as well. I currently don't need to be on a mood stabilizer or antipsychotic, but I am also on Vyvanse for my ADHD. Now, since everybody's brain chemistry is so different, again, the medicine that I take that can help me with my moods may not work for you. Sometimes people find medication makes them worse. It unfortunately can be a very long journey of finding the right cocktail and the right dosages. But if you find that medication is helpful for you, I would say to stick on it. And if you ever want to change or get off medication, please talk with your doctor before doing anything drastic like that, like changing or stopping medication. But if you've tried medication, you find that it's not helpful or it doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean that you can't also reach remission with BPD. Finding out that I officially don't meet the criteria anymore was one of the most rewarding feelings I could ever have. I originally thought that I would feel that way forever. I was so hopeless, and especially with our black and white thinking, all or nothing thinking, we can start to think that we're bad and we're always going to be bad. We're always going to feel this way. There's no hope. And that can lead to the self-harm and suicidal tendencies. But knowing that there is hope out there and you won't have to feel this way forever is so, so, so empowering. So with support groups, therapy, possibly medication, it may take a long time. Like for me, I found out about remission in 2025 and I was first diagnosed in 2013. It took me about 12 years to be officially considered in recovery. However, it may not take you that long. I think about 1/4 of BPD patients may experience remission within 2 years. But if you find you've had BPD for 10, 15, even 20 years, that doesn't mean that you are a lost cause. Even if you've experienced it for 30 years, there is still hope. I don't want anyone to ever feel like there's no hope for them. And remission is so, so, so worth it. I promise you. A lot of people think that, even me, myself, especially doctors told me it's a personality disorder. That's your personality. You're always going to have those personality traits. I think what makes it different is the disordered aspect of it. Like a personality trait would be someone who's shy, or someone who may be a little bit more impulsive, or someone who enjoys being around other people. When it reaches that disordered territory of I cannot function unless I'm around this one person, this favorite person, or I cannot control my moods to the point where I am destroying my life and destroying my relationships with others, that's when it becomes a disorder. But we can work on those behaviors. and learn healthier coping mechanisms. And that is where it comes in to, yes, it's my personality, but I am in a healthier mindset to where those thoughts and those feelings don't have to dictate my behaviors. So I'm hoping this is a little bit helpful for you all. My apologies for not editing. You know me, I just press record and just talk away. I feel like I might be missing some valid points. Oh, okay. So another aspect of my recovery that I found very beneficial is first, environment. I was not able to recover when I was in a unstable or abusive environment, living with certain people, being friends with certain people. It really just made it difficult for me. Now, I'm not placing all the blame on other people because I, of course, had a part to play. I'm the one with the personality disorder, so obviously, sometimes things just don't work, and it may be difficult to even acknowledge or understand what part of your environment is toxic for you personally, or what behaviors you may be displaying that are toxic, that kind of make this whole like big snowball of toxicity. So that's definitely something to maybe talk through with a therapist or a support group about how to get yourself into a stable environment, or maybe have some more stable relationships. It can be difficult to remove yourself from certain people that may not be the best. They may not be helping you grow. The other thing is, I am not sure if I've talked about this, but through majority of my adult life, I did struggle with substance use disorder. So I think that tied in with the impulsive, reckless behavior aspect of BPD. However, I was heavily self-medicating with many different substances, let's say. I am about 6 years clean from certain substances, about 4 years clean from other substances. I, wanted to escape my life as I knew it, and I didn't want to feel the way that I was always feeling. So it was like a band-aid for me. However, it was a temporary fix, and the substances definitely ended up making things worse, with my mood, with alienating myself from others. I personally had to really cut out pretty much every substance. I quit drinking fully 100% for about 4 years, and now I'm actually able to probably have 1 or 2 drinks in a year, like celebrate. But I had to completely cut it out completely for 4 years. Same with marijuana, which is legal in Canada. I relied way too heavily on mind-altering substances that just ended up causing my mood to go like this. And that was really keeping me from recovery. So I'm not saying that you personally have to just like go cold turkey sober. But if you are struggling with substance use or substance abuse, that could be a good step in healing and working through that dependency, so that you are able to then focus on recovery for your BPD symptoms. The other thing is that I found out that I'm autistic with severe ADHD, which I didn't know for literally 27 years of my life. So knowing that, knowing myself better and how my brain works was also a huge step in moving forward with my BPD recovery. Now, I'm not saying that everyone that has BPD is actually autistic or ADHD. Sometimes it can be comorbid, which means sometimes you can have autism and ADHD and BPD and substance use disorder and eating disorder and bipolar. And, there's like, oftentimes we struggle with a lot of different things. So it may also be a misdiagnosis that happens sometimes, especially for people who are assigned female at birth. We are more likely to be diagnosed with BPD and less likely to be diagnosed with autism or ADHD at a younger age. However, sometimes it can be all of them. I'm not saying that you for sure have that, but if you have been questioning it for a while, there's definitely no harm in getting that checked out, possibly getting an assessment. I realize how difficult it is to get an assessment for those disorders. So that may be a long process, but learning more about how your brain works and all of the other things I've mentioned put together have just been so helpful for me. And so I just really want to be like, I just want to let everyone know that it is possible to heal and recover from BPD, and you do not have to experience that pain and those intense struggles and suffer for your whole life, because hope, there's hope, there's hope. And I'd love to answer any questions that people might have about remission. And yeah, thank you guys so much as always for 10 whole years of support. Hopefully I didn't mumble too much. I will try to keep up with the videos more often. I am a full-time stay-at-home mom. However, my daughter's now in school and my son might be starting daycare very soon, so I might have some more time to do some videos, but I will remember to link some resources for DBT skills down below. I will try and find like a good support group that I recommend, as well as my socials at Mishu Mavros. Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone. Take care, and recovery is possible.